There's so many different avenues of real estate and various ways you can invest and whatnot that it can be daunting. It can be intimidating. And, you see other people having success and you're like, ooh, I want to do what they want to do.
Welcome. This is the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping others through real estate investing. Our hosts interview guests from all aspects of real estate investing who generously share valuable experiences and advice. Whether you're starting out or an experienced investor, this is the show for you.
Hello, how's it going? My name is Travis Shelton and welcome to the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we interview guests who want to help others investing in real estate. We keep these podcasts about 15 minutes, jam-packed, full of value and content. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Looking forward to a great discussion, and I know you're going to get motivated and fired up listening to our guest today. It's a real pleasure to introduce my friend, Landon Moore, new father, mechanical engineer, and real estate investor. Thanks, Landon, for joining us today. How you doing, man?
Yeah, thanks, Travis. Super stoked to be here. Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah, well, hey, can you tell our audience a little bit more about yourself, your background, where you're from, a little bit about your real estate investing?
Yeah, totally. My name is Landon Moore. Lived here in Phoenix, Arizona for about 5 years, originally from Bend, Oregon. My wife and I moved down here, and then we just recently had our firstborn, little baby Miller.
Congrats, man.
We moved down here about 5 years with the hope and opportunity of some warmer weather, more golf opportunities, and just a fresh start, and fell in love with it down here, and then started to dip our toes into real estate and really found a passion for helping others through real estate and more specifically in the short-term rental space.
That's awesome, man. And congrats, obviously, on your little girl. Yeah, beautiful. Dude. I've got a chance to meet her.
You too.
Thank you. Yeah. Three's another world though, man, for sure.
Dude, one is, we're dialed. We got one, we've got it figured out, but the 2 and 3, you're a brave man.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, we always like to start our interviews off with some motivation. So Landon, what's your favorite inspirational or motivational quote you'd like to share?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is what fuels the fire for me, and really kind of sets the pace for the day. I love priming my day every morning, because I genuinely believe if you win the morning, you win the day. And I believe that was Ed Milet who stated that, if you're familiar with his books and his podcast. But I really believe that, like, where if you're able to attack the day each morning by priming yourself through gratitude and intention and focusing on trying to attack the day, it really attack the morning, it really sets yourself up for success throughout the day. I really try and take an emphasis of focusing on doing that, because for me, I feel as though I can accomplish more from that 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. window than I can from that 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. window in terms of productivity. That's just how I'm wired and how I roll. There's just something so clear and pure about those 3 hours in the morning that no one's reaching out to you. And it's just pure silence. You get to focus on you and your thoughts and get to set yourself up for success throughout the day and whatnot.
All right, well, let's get into the nitty gritty of it, man. How can you help our audience of real estate investors? What's your hot take? Why are you here to, how can you help us?
Yeah, I mean, this really is just directly into that short-term rental space. What we're doing is we own a few short-term rental properties here locally in the Phoenix, Arizona metro market, as well as we do some co-hosting here locally for select properties and select hosts. But what we're really passionate about really is this new company we built called the Short-Term Rental STR Consulting Company, where it really allows me an opportunity to work with newer real estate investors, or even seasoned real estate investors that maybe haven't got into the short-term rental space, and help guide them along and almost create like a short-term rental fast pass at Disneyland to help them achieve a certain level of success and fight through all the mistakes I made early on in my real estate investing career, to help them avoid those, to get them to where they're actively operating in a system. Because I think that if I can help facilitate building that system and that ecosystem for them, they're going to have much greater success, more fulfillment, more time with their family, more time with everything. If we can get them on the right track from the beginning versus just winging it and then hoping for the best, And so, and that's where I get so much fulfillment, and we have so much fun doing that. We have clients all throughout the market here in terms of the Phoenix area, and each one of them, their goals are a little bit different. We have some older clients where they're not necessarily looking to make every dollar. They're looking to at least cover their mortgage and the expenses, but then also have a place to come back to every winter and whatnot. Yeah, that's where I really think I can help the community here locally is, and also, throughout America, really, because I mean, the whole thing is that we're building a system, and that system is automated in the short-term rental space for the most part. I would say 90% of it from the cleaners, which are the boots on the ground, which I would argue are the pinnacle to your success in the short-term rental space, and then all the way to automating your door lock codes to being on the doors, to automating every message throughout a guest's entire stay to ensure that they have a memorable 5-star stay that is consistent across every single guest's booking and every single property. And so that's where I feel like I can help our community and really provide value.
That's so awesome, man. I love it. I love the idea. I love the fact that you immediately saw an opportunity after doing your own short-term rentals to give back to the community of investors and try to see how can you help someone else, kind of like what you said, quick pass, right? Like a lot of us are not unwilling to pay for mentors or pay for advice or pay for that shortcut, right? Or that cheat code. And I think we're all raised in a world where you're not allowed to look at your neighbor, right? Or look at a neighbor's test or ask your friend, how do you spell that word? Or how do you answer this math question? But within this real world, it's so valuable to be able to do that. And me, myself, utilized your services, having kind of not done great in one of our short-term rentals. When we started a second short-term rental in the Phoenix area, obviously my wife kind of managing those to qualify for her real estate professional status. I wanted to give her a resource and an expert to ping things off of. How do you answer this sort of specific question? How do you deal with this sort of situation? And you've been invaluable for us personally, for my wife, extremely, to be able to have a resource and someone that's been there, done that. And I would highly recommend you, personally, not only because I like you, but because I know your service was, exceeded my expectations, exceeded the value that we paid for your services. And I just want to thank you because we are way more successful today than we would have without your recommendations and without your help. And we're going to kill it because of you, bro.
Those kind words mean so much, man. I genuinely appreciate that. And we did a really cool thing over at that property. I think it's going to do well for years and years and years. And I think your wife is set up for success. And I feel like she's going to be super happy with how that process worked out. But I think to your point of what you said and what you did, which I admire so much, is that you changed the question of, when you wanted to invest in short-term rental, you changed the question from how do I do this to who do I know that can help me do this. And I think that's so huge and critical in the evolvement of anyone and any human in any atmosphere of life. I go back to that, the reference of the gym. If you don't know what you're doing, which I had no idea what I was doing, I would walk into that 24-hour fitness and walk around because that's where I should be, right? That's what they say you should be doing is working out. And I didn't know what I was doing. But it was until I found a personal trainer who helped guide me to get me on the right path in terms of doing the right exercises. It's no different in the investing space. There are who's out there willing to help. And this podcast is just as much a part of that. And there's mentors out there that are willing to help you and want to see you succeed. And so it's no different than that. And it's an absolute blast to be able to work with someone like you and your wife. And it's so fun to see the success you guys are having.
So tell our audience, what does a short-term renting consulting project look like from start to finish?
Yeah. The answer is so fun. It depends because it depends on where we're at in the stage of things. I had a call yesterday with some future clients where they haven't even selected out a property quite yet. And so that we're at the very infancy stage, the grassroots of making that property selection. So, that differs from, for instance, I have a meeting tomorrow down in Old Town Scottsdale area with a client who actually attends your meetup there, Travis, that his property is already actively running. And they've had tremendous failures with their current ecosystem and their current co-hosting operations, where they've just been dropping the ball. And so they're implementing me into their system to basically revamp it and get them set up on a trail of success. And so, those are two very different types of situations where I can provide value in both. If we work from the very beginning where we haven't even selected a property, the questions are different, right? Because they're going to ask me, where's a good area we should be looking at a property? What type of property are we looking for? What metrics are we using? How do we comp these properties? And how do we look up, average daily rates and occupancy figures and really analyze this property? So, that's where I can become a resource from A to Z, because at that point, I created a short-term rental property calculator, an investment calculator right here. And that goes all the way into knowing exactly how much it's going to cost to furnish a room, down to the exact items you need in each room with the links to purchase them, and so it's really a one-stop shop from that beginning forward, but then when it comes down to, our other client who's already operating, it's really analyzing their current system. What are they currently using? Are they not using it efficiently? And maybe we can just train them to be more efficient using what's current, or we swap out that, maybe it's a piece of software. Maybe it's some amenities at the house that they need to add, like for instance, down here in the Phoenix, Scottsdale market, I think for me, again, going back to the non-negotiables, I think for a short-term rental property, I think it's a requirement to have a pool and or a hot tub, some type of water space, because I think for me, if I'm ever booking a short-term rental, I'm for sure selecting that box, and that just filters out anyone who doesn't have those, and now there are still people booking those properties, but I think to achieve the highest revenue possible and see bigger, profit figures, having those small amenities, the ROI on those are so quick that it's worth the investment. But then, someone like them, I'm gonna look at their ecosystem. I mean, maybe we need to add dynamic pricing. Like for instance, the clients tomorrow, they're not even listed anywhere but Airbnb. So they're missing traffic on both VRBO, they're missing traffic on booking.com, and then potentially even direct booking websites. And so really it's a whole grasp of everything and looking at what everyone's doing and trying to implement and provide what I've learned, my experiences, to see them succeed. And then I think the biggest thing, and I touched on this earlier as well, is bringing my vendors in as well. So my cleaner, Amanda, is my boots on the ground rock star. She kills it. Her and her team do an awesome job of cleaning, staging, and whatnot, but also inspecting the property for damages, inspecting the property for quantity renewals of soaps and K-cups and various things that I entrust in her, that I know she's got everything handled, and she reached out to me if there's any issues. And so from them to an AC company, to a plumbing company, to a landscaper, to a pool guy, that's where finding a who like me can really jumpstart your business and really get you on the ground running, where we can start earning revenue in month 1 versus in month 6 or 8 when you start to figure this thing out. So like you look at the ROI on that, and you're going to be operational from the day of close.
So Landon, for maybe someone getting started, what's one piece of advice you give to that person starting out or looking for maybe that first short-term rental opportunity?
Yeah, if it's your very first investment in general in terms of real estate, maybe it's your first, you're dipping your toes for the first time. There's a couple different opportunities you can look at. You've probably heard the term rental arbitrage, where you go on Craigslist or you go on Zillow and you find a landlord trying to rent out their 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo or townhome, and you reach out directly to them and see if they'd be willing to let you rent the place, but you're going to rent it out as a short-term rental, and get them to agree to it, where you're not actually spending the down payments, the closing costs to purchase a property that maybe you don't have. And so that's a way to get into it, to learn the business. Alternatively, what we did is we actually purchased a home with a guest house in the back of the property. and the guest house is a 2-bed, 1-bath home, and we had a pool in the backyard that my wife and I lived in the front, and then we Airbnb, VRBO'd the guest house in the back, and almost like a house hacking type situation. And that alone covered our mortgage and utilities every month. And that's where a little bit of our aha moment was like, okay, this is something, one. And then also two, like it allowed us to really clean up our processes and develop our system and learn what the consumer really wants. What does the guest really want? What makes them happy? Well, like a lot of the little creature comforts, the USB plugins by the nightstand to plug their phone in, so they're not having to find that outlet down there below the bed. Or the cake cups, they can just pop in the cake, all those little things about the business, and whatnot. And so for a newer investor, there's different options out there, but what it really comes down to is find your who, find your person that you can talk with on a phone, set up weekly Zoom meetings and just discuss, your current situation and use their guidance, use their support, and start going to real estate meetups like Travis's, or there's the Freedom meetup down in Fate Brewing, or look in your local market and you can find a meetup and just start connecting with people, and you have no idea where that road's going to go.
All right, man. You ready for the hot seat?
Let's do it.
You thought you were on it, but we're going to ask now. We always end all our interviews with the final 4 hot questions. And so, Landon, we'll start off with, what is one book you'd recommend to someone wanting to know more about real estate investing?
The Richest Man in Babylon. I think that is a critical book to a young reader's success or an early investor's success. And then obviously the book that everyone reads is that Rich Dad Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. That was my aha moment as well, coming from a very blue collar community, not knowing, I wasn't going to invent something. It was going to come from some blue collar work in some sense. And this is my way to try and figure that out and be creative at the same time.
That's awesome. Yeah. Purple book. Can't go wrong with Rich Dad Poor Dad. And Richest Man in Babylon. Love that book too. So what's your favorite productivity hack? Yeah.
I mean, there's so many out there and there's so many things that you can do to, I guess, quote unquote hack. And I'm not a huge fan of the hack word, but, I think
time saver, something that, like that little shortcut, Yeah.
I think depending on what you're trying to find shortcut in, I think the first place to start is with you and inside of you. I think that finding that inspiration, that motivation, and what drives you, what your passion is, what your why is really. And so that for me, like we touched on earlier in this podcast, is that those 3 hours every morning where I can really genuinely practice gratitude. I can practice intention in terms of what my goals are for the day. Every day has new goals and what we're accomplishing. Some are more complex than others, and some we're building on that are going to take months, years to accomplish. But I think gratitude and intention practice are really the grassroots of trying to find productivity hacks. Because if you can come from a place of that, you can do anything. You can clean a toilet with a smile if you're at peace with yourself. So. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I write down 5 things I'm grateful for each and every day, and started that in the morning, and it's one of the best things that I do. So I love that answer. So, Landon, what's the biggest mistake or failure, specifically maybe within real estate, that you've made, and what did you learn from that experience?
I mean, I think the biggest thing goes back to just what we just touched on, but also just trusting your gut. There's been, and specifically in the short-term rental space, there have been many times that we've received bookings at various properties that when we get that booking, our gut is telling us something's wrong. And what do you know? 5 hours later, you're kicking them out, or having Airbnb kick them out of your property for being knuckleheads, we'll call them. But and realistically, that's just. Those moments they suck. It hurts. You're on the edge of your seat, wondering what's going to go on. But then you really take a step back and learn from that there's a hole in your system that you got to fill and figure out how to prevent from that happening again. But in terms of a mistake or failure, I think it's not trusting my gut more. I think there's been instances where I've hesitated because I was coming from a place of fear-based thinking and what could go wrong attitude versus realizing that you just got to take that first step towards whatever you're trying to achieve, and specifically in real estate investing, try and find someone who can help guide you along the way, and trust your gut, because your gut is telling you to go down this road. And so I think that's where I need to be better about it.
I love that. And I think it's that question you ask yourself, like you said, what could go wrong, instead of asking what could go right. Right. I think we're always in that gap and gain. If we want to bring another book together, and it's like, I'm like that a lot. What's going to go wrong? What's going to go wrong? Instead of look at all the potential things that have gone right, or how far we've come, or all, measuring backwards and knowing how far we've actually come. All right, Landon, if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Well, if you ask my wife that question, you'd probably get a different answer. But
professional golfer.
I think, no, I wish that was the case. But no, I think for me, if I could be remembered for one thing, it's that I provided each person personalized value, and I brought to them a pathway for them to achieve fulfillment and happiness. And right now, that vehicle, that vessel, is through real estate, and specifically short-term rental consulting stuff. That if I can be the person that holds you accountable to achieve what you set out to achieve, that maybe you are a fear-based thinker, you wake up thinking that you're not going to achieve something, that I can help you overcome that barrier. And that ultimately leads to you being more self-confident about yourself, and maybe through real estate, that's your vehicle that breaks through in everything, and you can take that approach towards life. If I can be that facilitator for someone each and every day, I've done my job on this earth, and I'll go to bed happy, because I know that at least someone else out there is smiling and happy with their families, and achieving their dreams and level of fulfillment.
I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know you brought a ton of value to myself personally and my family through your consulting business. I know you're going to bring that much more positivity and benefit to others that are going to, utilize your services. For those of you guys joining us, we'll include all Landon's information so you can connect with him any other time. And we really appreciate you guys listening to the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast. Take care and God bless. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Hot Real Estate Investing Podcast. Check out our website, hotrei.com, for additional content and resources. And please take a moment to subscribe and leave a review so we can continue to bring even more value to others through real estate investing.